part of their job to serve. Well, that's too bad. They're taking up our staff. Either that, they can contract with somebody local. Gotta be more than one of these squash games.
Anybody seen a city manager about 6'5"? He's missing somewhere. I'll be able to see him. This meeting is now in order of the September 25th Haltom City Council meeting. Invocation and Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Blakely Cabano.
All rise, please. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing us to come here tonight so that we can set forth what's going to happen in this city. Lord, just give us the guidance and wisdom to do what's right, to let the citizens of Haltom City know that you're there guiding us and protecting us. Lord, we also ask that you watch over the former council member Joe Blassingame and his family. Dear Lord, with his passing, it's felt in the city. Lord, just give them the strength and comfort to know that you're there with them. All this we ask in your precious name. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Cabano. Have announcements by Fran Burns.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, 80 Haltom City volunteers joined in the annual Trinity Trash Bash on Saturday, September 16th. And some of the people that helped us are here this evening. I want to recognize members of the Beautification Board that helped. Bertie Blocker is here. There was Wayne Clowers, who helped cook the food, Denise Ford, and Cece Oakes. We also had Jimbo White, who just came to help, and he was a tremendous help. Took a whole crew of people out off-site, away from the creek, to pick up about 50 bags of litter. The mayor, of course, was there, and we really appreciate his support through this entire month of September. Warren and Pat Davenport were there, and we did have some city staff support, and some people came out from the city staff to volunteer. So it was a good morning. The race is on to determine the participating city that has cleaned up the most litter and or educated the most residents about the importance of water conservation and preservation. The Haltom City effort saw volunteers picking up 98 bags of trash and retrieving 2 shopping carts and 1 bicycle from the banks of Big Fossil Creek. The largest volunteer group came from the Haltom High Student Council, and the group picking up the most trash was Boy Scout Troop 555. Results of the regional challenge will be announced early next month. Envision Belknap. Anyone interested in learning about the Kimley-Horn Belknap Street Study and providing input is invited to attend a public meeting scheduled for 6 p.m. this Wednesday, September 27th, at the auditorium located at 5154 East Belknap Street. Registration for basketball is currently underway at the Haltom Recreation Center. Teams are being registered for a Wednesday night men's league and a Tuesday night church league. Please call the Recreation Center for details. A historic dedication ceremony will take place at 2 p.m. Thursday, October 5th at the new Trinity Cemetery, located at Northeast 28th and Beach Streets. The Texas Historical Commission recently bestowed the site as a historic cemetery. The Birdville Historical Society will host the event. And save the date. Saturday, October the 14th will be a busy day in Haltom City. The following will take place. From 7 a.m. to 1 p.m., there will be a free landfill day at the C&D landfill, 4144 Dick Price Road in Fort Worth. Residents may bring bulky trash for free disposal. Please bring a city water bill and driver's license as proof of residency. At 10 a.m. that same morning, there will be a town hall meeting at the Haltom City Public Library, led by Haltom City Mayor Bill Lanford, and the subject is how can elected officials and the citizens they represent communicate more effectively. So that's open to anybody who would care to attend. 10 o'clock, October the 14th at the library. From 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. on that very same day, Haltom City Fire Rescue will host their annual open house at Fire Station Number 1, 5525 Broadway Ave. The public is invited to learn about fire prevention through hands-on activities meant for kids and adults alike. And that's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Fran. The town hall meeting, just so you know, we're not going to go all day. We'll probably stop around 11:30 so we can go get some lunch. But I just wanted to throw that in and want to emphasize that everybody is invited to that, and we'll all get a chance to speak and listen to one another. It's a unique opportunity for citizens and elected officials to have actual conversation that, where we can talk about something that's not even on the agenda. So look forward to seeing everybody there. Want to also repeat some information here about former council member Joe Blassingame passing away over the weekend. The funeral is tomorrow at 2 p.m. at the Shannon Funeral Home on Roof Snow. I wanted to pass that along, and along with our condolences for his family and friends. Next on the agenda, we have the monthly financial report for August. Brother Joel Welch will be presenting that.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, members of the City Council. In your agenda packet was the monthly report for the 11th month of the fiscal year. The fiscal year is drawing rapidly to a close. In fact, this is the last week of the fiscal year. And so next week we'll be off to a brand new start. I'm going to primarily center my comments about where we're headed, or where I think we're headed for the balance of the fiscal year. And as is customary, I'll begin with the general fund. The general fund continues to perform strongly. Sales taxes are well ahead of our expectations, about almost 13% ahead of last year's pace, and on a pace to far outstrip the budget. By far outstrip, I mean probably something in the realm of $600,000 above the amount that we originally budgeted for this fiscal year. This offsets a slight shortfall that will occur in the property taxes. And as we talked about in the workshop, as I was answering a question concerning some delinquent collections and such, there's going to be a small shortage or in the property tax revenue account in relation to the budget, but it is only going to be about a third of the excess in sales tax, so the net is still very strong. We've had a good year in franchise tax collections. The municipal court collections have come around and now pacing the budget. So overall, I can say it's been a very good year on the revenue side of the house. As far as on the expenditure side, everyone is staying within their budgets as much as they possibly can. There's a couple of exceptions, and I've been telling you about them all year long. And of course, we continue to be dealing with higher than expected fuel costs and vehicle maintenance costs. A good example of that is for the 11th month of the fiscal year, we have about 13 months of expenditures. So we've had to deal with that, and we're doing our very best to stay within the overall appropriation for the fund as a whole. It's based on our projections at this point, it's a little bit touch and go. We think we're going to finish right at the budget appropriation for the year, which is good enough. Good enough. If all of this holds together as we expect, it is likely that we're going to add possibly $900,000 to the fund balance this fiscal year. That was wholly unexpected, and it is driven primarily on the strength of our sales tax collections. But it is something that is quite welcome and is going to enable the city to carry forward a very strong rainy day fund. We think that the fund balance percentage will be around 27% by the end of this fiscal year. So the city's going to be very healthy financially, and it's going to make it a little easier looking over the next few years with the position that we're in. And the water and sewer fund, of course, the dry weather this year has driven water sales through the roof. Wastewater sales have come in at approximately what we expected them to be. Expenditures are tracking on target. It is likely that we will be adding to the fund balance with in the water and sewer fund. As y'all may recall, in about the end of 2003, the fund balance in the water and sewer fund was down to about the equivalent of about 9% of the planned expenditures. In just the last few years, the combination of careful management and some weather that kind of favored high water sales, we look to be approaching about 28%, which means that there has been a remarkably strong turnaround in the water and sewer fund over the past few fiscal years, and in particular this year. And we'll be watching this over the course of the next year. I really don't believe we're going to see a third year of weather as dry as the past two, just quite simply because such a weather pattern hasn't existed in this part of the country in about 50 years. So it would be unlikely, not unheard of, but unlikely. The drainage utility is going to come in. I'm thinking about a possibility of an $80,000 surplus in the drainage utility this year. That's going to be not due to increased revenues, but just due to expenditures coming in beneath expectations. As you know, the drainage utility fund has a fairly static income stream, pretty much the same amount of money every month. And so if there's going to be a surplus, it's going to be on expenditure savings rather than, suddenly increased revenues or such. The sales tax driven funds, the crime district, the Economic Development Corporation, the Street Reconstruction Fund, all of them are experiencing sales much greater than expected, pretty much the same situation as we have with sales tax collections in the general fund. It is likely that the Street Reconstruction Fund will see a surplus in revenues of about $140,000. And if you look at the schedule in the monthly report, you can see the list of projects and where they are in progress. Some of these projects will not be finished by this year. They'll just roll into next year, and we'll just keep going with them. The Economic Development Fund is having, as I said, a very good year, adding to the fund balance. We will have a very healthy incentive fund to do proactive things to improve the business climate in the city, to induce the right kind of development in Haltom City. So there are resources. There is flexibility in the budget that makes it possible to pursue the type of economic development that we're allowed to pursue in the city and do the things that the law allows us to do for economic development. The additional sales tax revenues has been most helpful in the crime district because, as you know, the crime district has been drawing its fund balance down over the last couple of years as we've been trying to work our way through a rather stiff payment structure on some debt. Well, due to the excess revenues coming in this year, when we wrote this, we were anticipating a slight surplus. We've since, of course, had a couple of big murder cases that the money's going to have to come from somewhere to pay for the additional costs that are unplanned to meet those costs. So it's possible it may eat into some of the surplus that we have anticipated for the fund, but I still believe that there's a possibility that CCPD can add to its fund balance, which would be most welcome. It would be a very good situation for us since we budgeted to draw fund balance. So it'll improve the health of that particular fund. Changing gears a little bit, going to the investment report. Our investment portfolio is just under $25 million. As you read through the report, you'll notice that most of that money is still bond money. It is money that was borrowed to do specific projects, and it'll be used for those projects over the coming years. About half of this portfolio is invested in securities and in certificates of deposit. The other half of the money is invested in investment pools, overnight money. And we are earning a weighted average yield on the portfolio of 4.6%. We're a little bit beneath our benchmark still. Our benchmark for a 180-day Treasury bill is right at 5%. Of course, we're comparing to a 180-day instrument. The weighted average maturity of our own portfolio is slightly under 160 days. So it's not a real apples to apples, but we use that 180 as an average because sometimes our weighted average maturity goes above 180, but that's our target. And we're staying really close to it. Our overnight money is earning the target. It's some of the old agencies that we have that are going to mature off that will take care of some of that. If you read the report on page 8 and page 9, it talked about some of the investments that we have bought recently and some of the yields that we've been seeing on like a 2-year agency that we bought recently with a yield of 5.22%, a couple of CDs at 5.47 and 5.55%. Only thing about the CDs is we only buy $100,000 because that's what we have of federal insurance. So we rely heavily on federal insurance on those guys to protect the investment. Let's see. I believe that covers the comments that I wanted to make. Are there any questions?
Any questions for Joel on the monthly financial report? Mr. Sutton?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. It seems like I'm discerning this from the financial report, but it looks like Haltom City may have a little bit of flexibility or increased flexibility in taking advantage of economic opportunities that may come in future years because of the fund balance strength that we're beginning to realize. At least that's what I'm hearing. Am I hearing that wrong, or?
The council approved minimum fund balances for operating funds is 20%. Mm-hmm. In any case where you have over 20% of fund balance, you have flexibility.
Okay. Which means all kinds of things like tax decreases, taking advantage of economic opportunities. It's what this community wants to do.
It's the flexibility to undertake things that the council deems in the best interest of the community. And in the case of excess fund balances, my recommendation as council's financial advisor is that fund balances are, if you're going to draw a fund balance, it's best used on a one-time expenditure, like a capital outlay or a capital acquisition or a one-time payment assistance of some kind for something.
Okay.
Rather
Thanks.
than an ongoing.
Appreciate it, Joel.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Finance Director? If not, I'll call for a motion to dispose here. Mr. Sutton.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the monthly financial report for August 2006.
Ms. Branson.
That's for second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the monthly financial report for August 2006. Any further discussion? Please register your votes. And that is unanimous. Thank you. Next on the agenda, the capital improvement status report. Mr. Fain, you want to?
Thank you, Mayor
Take us through
Lanford
this.
and member of the council.
Hang on. Bob, you want to flip the switch for us, please?
Oh.
Thanks.
Go through this very quickly. A lot of it's a repeat, as you know, from month to month. Just wanted to bring to your attention the project of the Parish and Salona Overlay Project. As you know, this was a project funded with Community Development Block Grant funds, and we are substantially complete with this project, so we hopefully will not bring this to you next month, but we're just very proud of what was accomplished in this project, and we're showing these pictures to our citizens that are watching at home, and they're in color, and hopefully they can see the difference in the driving surface of Parish Road. And if you're familiar with Parish, that it was a tremendous project, and we're very proud of that project. Also included in the project was the overlay of Salona, a before and after picture. That's a pretty clear picture there of those two projects. We're also very proud of the addition of park equipment. There was no park equipment in these parks, so we've added some park equipment for the little ones in those particular communities. Browning and Dunson, we've talked about this several times. The contractor actually has till the end of the week to complete the project. I'm not very optimistic he'll finish this on his time schedule, so we'll have to deal with that next month. This is another exciting project that the staff brought to the council a couple months ago. It's the 2006 overlay project. We awarded the bid to Reliable Paving on July the 24th of this year. We mill and overlay 15 street sections and approximately 28,000 linear feet of pavement, and the project cost to the city was $862,000. And we are on schedule. In fact, we'll probably bring this back to the council one more time and say that the project is substantially complete. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the section of Jean Lane, which is from 28th Street to Fossil. But this particular street, staff went in with our concrete contractor several months ago and put in curb and gutter where there actually was not any curb and gutter on this particular street. There was some. It was a hodgepodge of curb and gutter. And then the contractor has gone by, or has come back, and he has overlaid this particular street, and it is in excellent shape. It's worth the drive down that part of the community to see the work of the contractor. Very proud of that particular project. Also overlaid, one of the 15 sections is this particular street, Walthall, and you can see a before picture where water would collect at this particular intersection. We obviously have removed the water through some curb and gutter work and come back and have overlaid this street. In fact, we've gone all the way up to Jane Lane and all the way up to Dana. The next project the council has also awarded this particular project to Stabil and Win on July the 24th, and the project will include installing approximately 4,600 linear feet of new street pavement and replace some of the utilities on these particular streets of Vicky, Glenhaven, Bewley, and Harris. The contractor has a notice to proceed, and he will, here in the next couple of weeks, hopefully will begin his work. And just wanted to, here again, I just love pictures. These are pictures, obviously, of the street in the current condition. And so hopefully in 3 or 4 months we come back and show work completed and show you the picture of the conditions today and then the conditions that will be in when the contractor has completed his work. Especially on Glenhaven there, the picture on the right. That was just after a small rainstorm, I believe, we had on July the 4th. Of course, these are the other 2 streets of Bewley and Harris. We've talked about this project several times, and we'll continue to revisit this particular project. Little Fossil Creek improvements, just to sum it up, the engineer that was hired by the Corps of Engineers to do the design has completed 95% of the design. So that's good news. That's a difference from last month when we talked, and it was about 65% complete. But here again, status quo on this project. We're just waiting to have some funds released from the Corps so we can continue to move forward. But a little good news, we feel like the Corps will, or our federal government will release approximately $1 million for this project their next fiscal year, which begins October 1st. I know there's been some discussion about the Big Fossil Creek project, and I want to move to the next slide. We've got an update from the Council of Governments. This is a joint project between the Corps of Engineers and the Council of Governments, and the Council of Governments actually are the ones that are the planners for our region, so they're trying to coordinate this project. So I'll bring you a little status report here. According to the COG, they have completed the following. They have completed the environmental assessment. They have completed the preliminary hydrology and hydraulic engineering for the watershed conditions, and they've identified potential feasible projects along this corridor, and they have assessed the basic economics of the area. That's good news, but on the negative side, they haven't presented that information to our community yet, nor have they presented to any of the other communities along the Big Fossil corridor. But there's progress, so at least we've got this information out of them, and we'll see where it goes. And the next slide basically talks about that COG is reaching a critical point of the study. We all know that. A study product will be drafted this year in order to document meaningful progress along many paths. Now, the first bullet point, basically what the COG is telling city staff is that they have to fulfill a reporting obligation to the Texas Water Development Board. They are mandated to do this to receive money from the federal government. Also, they are at a point where they need to satisfy FEMA's hazard mitigation planning requirements and to help make the projects located in this watershed eligible for post-disaster mitigation funding. And also to determine the benefits of locally adopting the I-SWIM throughout the Big Fossil Creek watershed.
Now, what is I-SWIM?
I-SWIM basically is it is a program that the COG offers, and what they have done is come up with a stormwater program, if you will, an all-encompassing stormwater program, anywhere from adopting certain ordinances that deal with stormwater runoff to how to take care of your inlets and that type of thing. And they want the whole Metroplex or the whole COG region to adopt these I-SWIM manual. And it's basically been talked about, and I don't think any city has adopted the I-SWIM manual as a guideline for their stormwater program except Fort Worth. So obviously it's a program that the COG pushes, and it is a good program, and we do utilize some of that information, but the city of Haltom City has not adopted the I-SWIM manual as their sole source of dealing with stormwater issues.
Thanks.
Project study update schedule. Before you, I did talk to the gentleman at COG today, and I said, now I'm going to present this to the council tonight. Are you comfortable with these dates? Because he established these dates, and he said he is. So I want to share those dates with you. The COG states they will complete the existing conditions report by April of 2007, that the COG will also identify projects and formulate plans throughout the study until August of 2007. They will provide a detailed design and submit draft interim feasibility study in February of 2008 and provide a final feasibility study and an environmental impact statement on July of 2008. Here's a little funding scenario that they provided us, the project study update funds. In fiscal year 06, the Corps of Engineers allocation for this project was a total of $792,000, which $200,000 was earmarked for the Big Fossil Creek project. And in fiscal year 07, the President has budgeted no funding for the Upper Trinity project, which includes, of course, the Big Fossil corridor. And basically what the next bullet point states is there's a need for additional $2.2 million to continue to move forward with this project, and more specifically, just for the Big Fossil Creek study, there is a need for an additional $300,000. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and skip this next slide because it's pretty much a rehash of the slide before that with some deadlines. With that, I'll just move forward. I know there may be some questions about that particular project later in the presentation, but the next project is the Highway 377 water main project, and staff will send this project out for bid, and hopefully this time next month staff will bring a bid award for the council approval. Tracy Street water and sewer line project, street improvements. This project was a project that has been done in-house with our construction department, and we're at 85% complete in this particular project. And there's a little picture of some before and after. The next two slides, I don't know if our city manager will want to talk a little more about these particular projects. The library project, and if he can, and maybe the animal shelter too.
On the library construction, if you recall, I'd mentioned to the council we had received some cost estimates for the construction for the library. We were not comfortable with those assessments. We asked our architect to send those back out for another assessment of those costs. I'm kind of a day early here and $1 short. We're meeting with our architects on Wednesday to go over those estimates, so we'll have a chance to review those. So I'm a little bit not prepared to discuss that at this time, but we're trying to move forward with the design and complete that. And hopefully at the next report, we'll be able to give you a little bit more of an update. What's the next one?
This is just a picture of the proposed library side. The next one is the animal shelter.
I know when to stop.
If you want to, go right ahead. Do you want? Well, the animal shelter project hasn't moved in quite some time. We're at a point now to where we're going to be taking out the cages, stripping the floor, and putting a new sealant down on the floor. And we've had difficulty with that, arranging that with the contractor and whatnot. So we're looking at now is possibly just closing out the project as it is now and going back out for bids and just soliciting them from floor companies or concrete companies that do this instead of just a general contractor to get this thing done. We may be better suited off doing that instead of just dealing with a general on it and just taking another shot at it. So hopefully we'll have that done in the next 30 days or so.
Was this work anticipated in the bid?
This work was anticipated in the bid, and at the time of the bid, the project came in way under what we anticipated. And at the time when we talked with the winning contractor, we thought there was apparently some miscommunication in how some things were going to be scheduled out in the bid and in the project. Apparently it came down to the floor. And we could be real hardliners and try and get the floor out of this thing. Right now, I'm not sure the city's that's in the best interest of the center of the shelter itself. The rest of the work has gone well. It's just that the floor, there was some miscommunications, misunderstandings. I don't know what the details are of that, but we may be better off just closing it out and doing something else. I've told them is I'm willing to do change orders if we have to get this thing done, but it's still presenting challenges there. So,
Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tom, you said the rest of the work's going well. Is that the leak on the roof and the plumbing problem that was in the walls?
from what I understand, the rest of the work is complete and has been done. I have not been over there yet, but from what I understand, everything else has been done. The floor is the last remaining item.
I heard that roof's going to be kind of tricky, and they finally figured out how to do it and where it was.
What should have happened is certainly the leak in the roof is actually probably one of the smaller items. There was shifting some of the trusses on the interior area, especially in that reception area, that a lot of cracks were happening. Those have been repaired from like you said, the interior plumbing. Doorways were out of alignment. Just a lot of little things, and all those things have been corrected.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks, Tom.
And with
You want to continue on with this video extravaganza, or are you?
I'm done.
All right. Thank you for making me look bad yet again.
Uh-oh, I'm in trouble.
Any questions for Mr. Fain on the capital improvement status report? Mr. Sutton.
Just a brief one. Are you gonna, the charts that you had up on Big Fossil Creek, and actually the whole presentation, will it be on the web so that people can access that?
Sure.
We can do that.
Okay. All right, that'd be good.
You understand we've never had a video, a PowerPoint presentation like this with
Oh,
our
I know,
CIP
I know.
before.
But I think
So-
some of the dates in there would be nice to have up there, and just
Sure.
some information that those that may not have accessed it tonight may want to look
Well,
at
a
it.
lot of some folks on the Big Fossil area are very concerned, and this is some info that they would like to have, I'm sure.
So if it can be on the web, that'd be
Okay.
great.
We can do that.
Mr. Hutchison.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Fain, I guess I just wondered when somebody was going to make a presentation to us. You said they made a presentation to other people along the Big Fossil area. How come, and when are we going to get a presentation from those folks, from CAW?
They really haven't made any, as far as I know, any presentations to any of the other communities that are in the study area.
Oh, I misunderstood you. I thought you said they had.
I would like to get them to come out,
Yeah.
some representative from the
Well,
COG, and make a presentation. And
I've been on the council for 3 years now, and I've seen this on every capital improvement report, and we haven't seen any movement on this yet. I wondered when the COG was going to, give us some idea. You gave us some a nice, colorful presentation. By the way, we only got black and white, but, that's okay. I can live with that. But in any case, I just wondered if somebody was
save
going to
money.
come. Some of us got black and white, but I just want to make sure that, we're kept informed too. I wondered if COG, you gave us some dates, but I'm wondering if COG has any idea which way they're headed in this.
I think the difficulty, quite honestly, is the staff hasn't been informed. That our staff has not been informed, and we're pushing a few buttons and talking to the right people. excuse me, in at the COG, and I think we can get something done. And I will extend an invitation to someone from the COG to come speak to the council next month.
The
That's the desire.
the COG typically would make a presentation like this to the consortium as a whole, and I'm not aware that they have even tried that yet. Is that
I
the
think
consortium has not met in quite
Ben and
some
Howard,
time.
assistant public works director, is a lot more involved on a
I don't
day-to-day
think
basis. In
they've-
fact, here he comes. He may have a lot better update than I do.
Thank you, Council. The consortium, the last time we met was August 2003. And at that point, that is when COG realized, as part of this project, the city, all the cities as part of this consortium, funded our portion of the study. COG's portion of the study was being funded out of another contract. That contract ended, and because the Corps' portion of this study was 2 years behind schedule, COG essentially does not have any money to pay their staff to push this project forward. That is what has delayed this project. COG has been working internally to fund their portion of the remaining contract. The Corps has been working to catch up. The Corps has been hit with funding issues just like the rest of us. And so that's why there's been such a delay in the project.
Back in '03, when the consortium met, that's when we decided on the amounts that each of the cities were going to be doing.
Correct.
Isn't that right?
The amounts and the scope of work.
Right, and the city, and Haltom City certainly has,
Well, that's the very point I'm making,
investment in that.
and that's the very point I'm making. We've done our part. We've held up our end of the
as
bargain.
have the other communities
And the
along
COG
the watershed.
hasn't, and I'm
Correct.
just, I'm
I-
interested in seeing the results of what we've invested in.
Exactly. And the COG is very aware of that. And the COG knows their reputation is on the line, not
Yeah,
only
they've
on
been
this-
aware of it since 2003, sir, and it's 2006 now. And
I'll agree, there does not seem to be a sense of urgency at the COG.
okay,
The bottom line is it's a funding issue on their part. And because the Corps project was delayed, that's what has caused the whole funding issue. The Corps has still been proceeding with their scope of work. And the Corps scope of work was the original existing condition modeling of H&H work. That is supposed to be completed by April '07. And then the project will move forward. But until they get the existing conditions mapped and modeled, the project can't move forward.
Are we to assume that since they've given us these dates, that they've found some money to move this project
That
along?
is my understanding from Jack Tidwell.
Okay.
well, you'll understand, sir, if right now I don't have that great of confidence in those dates. When I see some movement, then maybe I'll have some confidence in those dates. I'm sorry, but that's just the way I feel right now.
Yeah, that's quite understandable. If I have a whole list of emails, I'll be glad to provide. On a monthly basis, I've had back and forth with the Director of Environmental Services for COG on this same issue, because Mr. Muir has been bothering me every month for updates for the CIP, and that's the only thing I can give him. So the staff has been working behind the scenes. It's just we haven't been able to get that information out of COG. Any other questions?
We feel at a disadvantage because we're not driving the bus. We're just kind of along for the ride, and it ain't moving. And those dates don't exactly turn me on either. Those things are pretty far out there. And I wish there was a shorter timeline on this stuff, but
Well, with
but
all
we're
due
not
respect,
driving.
Well,
the
with
bus
all
here.
due respect, I feel like we're being taken for a ride right now.
Well, the one advantage is the COG has not requested any more funding from the cities. because the cities are paid off up until we get our report. So that's where we're at right now.
Any other questions or comments on the capital improvement status report? Thank you, Manny.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you, David.
Appreciate it.
Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. We've had a little movement here at the last minute over what items were going to be on the consent agenda. Items 4 and 5 have come off the agenda. When I asked the council, councilperson asked for item 7 to be removed, and now has asked for it to be put back on the consent agenda. Is there any discussion or comment, any council persons that oppose putting item 7 back on the consent agenda? Okay, we'll leave that on the consent agenda. So on the consent agenda, items 4 and 5 are removed, and we'll consider items 3, 6, and 7 as part of the consent agenda. Consent agenda is considered to be self-explanatory and will be enacted by the council with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. Approval of the consent agenda authorizes the city manager to implement each item in accordance with staff or board recommendations. Have any comments or discussion on the consent agenda? Ms. Branson?
No, that was for a motion.
Okay, you want to make a motion?
Sure. I move that we approve consent agenda items 3, 6, and 7.
Mr. Clark?
Thank you, sir. That's for a second.
Okay, we have, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the consent agenda? It's items 3, 6, and 7. Please register your vote. And that is unanimous. Before we move on to our regular agenda, I want to tell the audience that we're going to move some of the agenda items around now. I want to get the public hearings and ordinances, resolutions handled first. I have some out-of-town visitors. I'd like to get them an opportunity to get on out of here. So we will do items 10, 11, and 12 out of order. We'll start off with item 10, and then when we get those 3 items done, we'll circle back around and start up with item 4, again under the regular agenda item. So the public hearing is now open. Item 10, PW 806, to conduct a public hearing and consideration or action regarding the application of Ernest Hedgecoff for the final plat of lots 1AR and 2AR, Block A, Burt R. Tucker subdivision, being a replat of lots A1 and A1A7, Block A, in the single-family-2 single-family zoning district containing approximately 3.448 acres of land locally known as 4325 Fossil Drive. James?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council, citizens of Haltom City. Tonight we're replatting residential property, hence the need for a public hearing. And as you said, we're regarding the application of Mr. Ernest Hedgecoff of Hedgecoff Engineering for the final plat of lots 1AR and 2AR, hence the replat, of Block A of the Burt R. Tucker subdivision. It is a single-family zoned lot, and the applicant is creating a 28,269 square foot lot, which is proposed lot 2AR, out of lot 1AR for the proposed single-family residence. Lot 1AR has an existing residential structure. So what he's doing, he's taking this large lot and he's carving off a piece of it for a new residential structure, and it will be for his daughter's house to take care of a family member. The plat was recommended for approval to the City Council by the Planning and Zoning Commission. The decision was at the September 12, 2006 meeting. Therefore, I formally submit the reduced copy of said plat, 11 by 17, for your approval and a GIS aerial to indicate the location. There were some drainage issues on the plat that were worked out by Mr. Hedgecoff and city engineering staff, as well as there will be some sewer construction on Fossil due to this new addition.
Any questions for Mr. Pliska from the council? If not, we'll open up the public hearing. Mr. Hedgecoff, you want to come up and make a statement?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Yes, I represent Mr. Karofsky in the replat of his property, and Mr. Paliska pretty well outlined all the details that we had to go through. This property is a portion of this property on the west end is in the floodplain, but it's not anywhere close to the houses. The area where the houses will be constructed is on the east end, which is about 2 to 3 feet above the 100-year flood elevation. Mr. Karofsky wants to carve out a lot for his daughter to build a house on, and we've met with the architect. He's got a design, and I think the plans are already in the office, so as soon as the plat's approved and we can get it to the courthouse, get some signatures, this will be underway, and they'll have the house. It's approximately 2,500 to 3,000 square feet house, and I'm not sure what the price range will be, but I'm guessing in the neighborhood of 150 to 175,000, somewhere in that range. The only issue we had was with the storm drain that runs along between the houses on the east end. There's a 48-inch storm drain that was constructed years ago that we had to go across the top of with the sewer service to furnish the house. But we worked all the details out with the city engineering department, and it's all clear and it'll drain, and we have no problems. I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Mr. Hedgecoff? Thank you, sir. Appreciate
Thank you very
it.
much.
Anyone else would like to speak on this this item? If not, I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion to dispose. Mr. Sutton.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve final plat number P008-06.
Mr. Hutchison.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That would be for a second.
Ms. Branson, you have...
That was for a second.
Oh, okay. All right. Any discussion? We have a motion. Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, please register your vote. And that is unanimous. Thank you, sir. Next item to be heard is item 11, ordinance number O2006-021-15, Z-009-06. Conduct a public hearing and consideration and or action on the application of Thomas Rhodes on behalf of Progressive Insurance for zoning change on proposed lots 1 and 2, Block 1 of the Progressive Concierge Addition from the C3 Commercial District on tracks 20D, 20I, 20J, and 20K of the Joel Walker Survey, Abstract 1654, and Lot 1, Block 3 of the Wilkinson Wright Addition, and from the C1 Commercial District on tracks 20K and 20K6 of the Joel Walker Survey, Abstract 1654, to the PD Planned Development Commercial District located at the northwest corner of Haltom Road and Parish Road, containing approximately 7.687 acres of land locally known as 5013 through 5035 Parish Road and 1715 Haltom Road. This is the first reading. Mr. Paliska?
Thank you, Mayor. As you stated, the planned development commercial zoning will allow the applicant to develop an automobile insurance claim center on proposed Lot 1, Block 1, and a future retail center on proposed Lot 2, Block 1. We've enclosed the planned development district standards that accompany the ordinance with this item. At their meeting on September 12, 2006, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of the rezone request to the City Council. Changes were made to the site plan, which included additional landscaping. In addition, the list of permitted uses for Lot 2 were modified. Therefore, I formally submit to the Council Ordinance O2006-021-15, adopting the plan development and the site plan, as well as the plan development district standards, and the 11/17 reduced copy of the site plan to accompany the ordinance as an exhibit. It was a long discussion at Planning and Zoning. It was for several hours. There were 22 residents to discuss the issue, and all 22 were in favor of it. I'd like to introduce Mitchell Planning Group. Ms. Mitchell will introduce everyone involved during the public hearing, and I stand to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Paliska? Ms. Branson?
Thank you, Mayor. James, was the EDC apprised of this
Yes,
time around?
the EDC has been apprised since we received the development review application months ago.
And they had no objections?
We met with EDC on many occasions to discuss this issue, as well as Mr. Muir.
Well, when he's talking about he's met with the EDC consultant. The EDC has not met on this occasion. I briefed them at their last meeting, and they were not opposed to this.
Okay, I just wanted everyone to be aware that the EDC this time knew what was going on.
Yes, they do.
Also, we have a member of the Zarimba group, the marketing group. I believe that they have had discussions with Mr. Flynn on this as well. Right. So everyone has been notified during the whole process.
Any other questions for Mr. Pliska? If not, Ms. Mitchell, you want to tell us something?
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the City Council, my name is Karen Mitchell. I'm with Mitchell Planning Group, 7065 Confederate Park Road, Suite 300 in Fort Worth. At this time, you'll see we brought our whole team here this evening, and so I'm going to introduce everyone to you. We have Mr. Kevin McGrath. He is the manager of development with Progressive Insurance. He's here out of Cleveland, Ohio. We have Ms. Catherine Clayton. She's the claims regional manager for the DFW market, also with Progressive. We have Mr. John Watella, who is the senior development manager with the Zarimba Group out of Cleveland, Ohio. We also have Mr. David Gregory, who's our engineer of record. He is with Icon Engineering. We have Mr. Fernando Carmanga, who is our real estate agent on this piece of property. And we also have Mr. Thomas Rhodes, who's sitting on the floor here doing the PowerPoint. What a job, huh? And he's with Mitchell Planning Group. And then we have our land use attorney, Mr. Art Anderson, who is with us as well. As you all remember, about a year ago, this came before you guys, and we received a recommendation of approval from the Planning and Zoning Commission. However, for reasons that you all are all aware of, it did not make it past the City Council. We're pleased to bring the same site back to you. The circumstances are different this time because before we came in with a straight zoning district, whereas now we're bringing before you a planned development district. And planned development districts, I think, will give everyone, hopefully, a much better comfort level than what was last time, mainly because with a planned development district, you all get an opportunity to look at the development standards that we've proposed. You can give us input on those, as well as looking at detailed site plans. So basically, what you see really is going to be what you're going to get on this piece of property. Zarimba Group's proposing to develop this site for a Progressive Insurance automobile claims center. I'd like to just put emphasis for the record that no automobile repair is going to be done on the premises here. Unnecessary repairs will be conducted at off-site facilities with the owner obtaining a rental vehicle or somebody picking them up while the repairs are being performed. This site is zoned for commercial uses currently. We have two proposed lots that are before you this evening. Lot number 1, where it says detailed site plan. This is the location of where the Automobile Insurance Claims Center is proposed. And lot number 2 is being reserved for future retail development. I would like to let you know that our initial request for lot 2 was for commercial uses. Staff requested that we actually amend our application so that it would be more suited for retail uses, and we agreed to do that because we understand the importance of this piece of property combined with the location of the EDC property that's at the hard corner. We have provided a detailed site plan for lot number 1. I believe that's the next slide, Thomas, for lot number 1, in accordance with the zoning ordinance, because we do not have a specific user yet for lot number 2. We're providing a development plan for lot number 2. When a specific user comes in for lot number 2, they will have to come through this same process again, public hearing, notification of property owners, where you all will get to see exactly what it is that they're putting on their property and to make sure they do conform with the development standards that you all approve. Progressive is proposing to construct an 18,782 square foot building with 16 inspection bays. We'll be providing a total of 184 parking spaces, being a combination of secured and non-secured parking. 55 of the secured parking spaces will be covered. This slide right before you will show you, it's kind of difficult to see because of the lighting, but back behind that will give you an idea of what the covered parking will look like. The part where they actually come and they'll drop their vehicle off, it gets evaluated, and then behind there you'll see the fence, the wrought iron fence, and behind that you'll see what the covered parking looks like. All vehicle inspections will be performed inside of the building, and damaged vehicles will all be in the secured parking area that will be screened from view. Again, this is a better close-up of what the secured screening will look like. This site will have a double layer of screening. Our client's proposing the construction of an 8-foot-high wrought iron type fence with fast-growing evergreen shrubs, a minimum of 2 feet in height at time of planting and spaced every 3 feet on center to provide a living screen. Additional screening consists of a 6-foot-tall wooden fence that will be provided adjacent to any residential property. The majority of the property that's the northern boundary of this site, as well as a portion on the western boundary, is all residential. We are proposing to put a 6-foot-high wooden fence at this location. The 6-foot-tall wooden fence will be constructed on both lots when the construction of the Automobile Claims Center is constructed in order to adequately screen the properties from what we are constructing. We're screening the residential properties so that they can't see what it is that we're constructing on lot number 1. In addition, we are also installing, now we're saying that it's a 10-foot landscape buffer strip that is located along our northern property and our western property adjacent to the residential. In essence, what it is we have a 10-foot buffer strip where we're going to be planting trees every 25 feet against the residential properties. But we are also, as you can see, the northern portion of the site where the residences are located, we have 50 feet that is actually located between where our wrought iron fence is going to be and the actual property line. It may be a little bit better if you look over on this where you can see that our wrought iron fencing is located. Can you all see that very well? Wrought iron fencing would be located here. We've got approximately 50 feet before you even get to the 10-foot buffer yard where we're going to be having the row of cedar trees that are going to be planted along here. Also, you will notice that these are all very narrow lots or long, narrow lots, and most of these houses are located close up here. So as you can see, there is quite a bit of distance from these residences to even where our wooden fence would begin at this point. The property that is located on the western boundary adjacent to the residences, that is approximately 100 feet in width. So although we're calling it a 10-foot buffer strip, on our detailed site plan, as you can see, it really is going to be about a 100-foot buffer width. The 10-foot is called out just to be the location of where we're planting the actual trees. We're also going to be constructing 2 monument signs associated with the progressive property. In addition, we'll be including 2 directional signs on the internal portions of the property to help direct the flow of traffic. Approximately 38% of this site will be open space and landscaping. We're providing a front landscape buffer that will be approximately 30 feet in width and will consist of a combination of live oak, lacebark elm trees, dwarf Burford hollies, Bermuda grass lawn. Landscaping located within the buffer yard area adjacent to the residential properties will consist of 34 cedar elm trees spaced approximately 25 feet on center. Again, the landscape buffer strip is in addition to the required 6-foot wooden screening fence. As illustrated in our landscape plan, we're showing over 38% of this site to be open space and landscaped. We will be planting a total of 57 trees. Now this is only for lot number 1, okay? When lot number 2 comes in, they'll have to comply with the landscape regulations on the books. But for lot number 1, we're proposing to plant 57 trees, 34 of which will be planted along the residentially zoned property, and the remainder to be scattered throughout the site. The, Thomas, if you can go back, if you don't mind, please. It's not shown on this one right there. The property owner, let's see if I can get a better location. The gentleman that owns this property, which is lot number 2, that's closest to Haltom Road, although that is zoned commercial, he did request that we go ahead and extend the row of trees to be along adjacent to his property. He was concerned about any kind of the traffic that comes down our drive approach right here. He wants a way that it could be not only visually screened but also a little bit of sound buffering. We did agree to do that at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, so we will be extending those trees. Planning and Zoning Commission, as you all have seen in your backup, they recommended approval unanimously. The requested changes that the Planning and Zoning Commission asked for was that we go ahead and extend the wooden fence not only along the residential, but take it all the way to approximately right here, which is the end of where the single-family residential district is located, and then also extend the trees all the way down to where the visibility triangle is at this location. They also asked us to make sure that the fence was, we used the steel post instead of the regular landscape timbers, but to actually use the steel post and set that in concrete. We agreed to do that. Also, they asked that we look at amending some of the list of permitted uses. The uses that they requested that we take out of there was assisted living center, contractors, plumbing, electric, heating, air conditioning, sales and service, mortuary funeral home, and temporary buildings for construction purposes. That particular one, I believe Mr. Pliska said, is covered by a different ordinance, so that when construction is going on, that wouldn't necessarily prohibit us from having a contractor's trailer on site just during the construction side of it. In summary, we believe that the proposed development of this property into a progressive auto insurance claim center will be a great benefit to the city. Given the proximity of this site in relation to the EDC property, marketability of Lot 2 could attract numerous retailers and restaurants. We have provided landscaping that greatly exceeds the minimum requirements of the ordinance and will be aesthetically pleasing. We will be constructing adequate screening, landscaping, and buffering to ensure that our use will not be detrimental to adjacent uses and adjacent property. And we respectfully request that you vote to approve our rezoning and our preliminary plat. We do have our entire team is here to answer any questions you may have. If I can't answer it, I'll probably defer to one of our team members.
Thank you, Karen. Any questions? Ms. Branson?
I have a question for Karen. The landscaping proposal is incredible. I think you said it was 38% landscaping. Is that
landscaping and open space? Yes.
And there's going to be 57 trees. I have two questions. One is, how are you planning on irrigating the landscaping? Are you putting in an irrigation system? Is it going to be hand watered?
I believe that we are putting in, David Gregory, I believe we are putting in an irrigation system that will go the whole length. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, that's a good answer. And then, do you have a contingency plan? If you're planting 57 trees, I'm thinking that a few of those guys just may not make it. Is there a contingency plan to come back and replace the trees if they don't?
If they die, keep in mind that would be actually a zoning violation. That would be a violation of the Planned Development District. We would be required to come back and replant that.
And you guys would do that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thanks. I'm glad you thought of the irrigation system.
Mr. Clark?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can we go back to the picture showing the overview, the drawing? There it is. Can you show me the fire hydrant locations on there, please? Okay, that is one. I see it now. I can tell by the drawing. The northeast corner, maybe?
We have this slide in differently. That's why it's thrown us off, because
Okay.
it's not
North
matching
is
up with the way
to
we
your
have the
left.
other one.
Yeah, north is up. Yeah, to the left. Yeah, okay.
Oh, okay.
The,
This is also a sprinklered building as
Right,
well.
by ordinance. The roadway coming off of Haltom Road, is it the width of the road and the construction, is it asphalt or concrete?
It is going to be concrete. The width of it is going to be, I believe it's 24 feet. It is a drive approach is what it is. It's
So
a driveway.
your wreckers will be able to get in and out with
Oh,
no problem,
absolutely.
and you have the concrete?
Not
instead of-
only, right, not only is it designed for the wrecker services, is it also designed for any of your fire apparatus
Right,
as
right.
well.
And also, you said that, and I knew this from way back, that you're not going to be doing any repair on the site.
That's correct.
Do you have repair facilities, or might they spring up and they would bid? How will this grow in the future to get the cars repaired coming in?
I might want to ask Ms. Clayton to come forward. It's my understanding that they are repair facilities throughout. Whenever cars come in, they will be contracting with the various facilities to come and pick the cars up and mount.
I noticed you said something about rental cars.
For the arrival of those appointments. And we left
Those cars on site.
really for today, it's of appointment that we have with customer cars per day.
Which on average is
We will start with approximately 10 to 15 at a time.